and on the 23rd of July 1863, Alexandra Park was opened to the public. It was named after Alexandra of Denmark, who had married Prince Edward, the Prince of Wales, 4 months earlier. In September 1865, construction of the palace commenced. Set in Alexandra Park, Alexandra Palace was built in an area spanning Wood Green and Muswell Hill in North London, England in 1873 as a public recreation, education and entertainment centre and North London counterpart of Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace was a cast iron and glass building originally erected in Hyde Park, London, to house the Great Exhibition of 1851. More than 14,000 exhibitionists from around the world gathered in the palace's 990,000 square foot of exhibition space to display the examples of the latest technology developed in the Industrial Revolution. Designed by Joseph Paxton, the Great Exhibition building was 1,851 feet long, with an interior height of 108 feet. After the exhibition, the building was moved to a new park in high, healthy and wealthy area of South London called Sydenham Hill, an area not much changed from today in the well-heeled suburb of 4 large Victorian villas that was during the Victorian heyday. The Crystal Palace was enlarged and stood from 1854 to 1936, when it was destroyed by fire. The palace covers some 7.5 acres. In 1871, work started on a railway to connect the site to Highgate Station. Work on both the railway and the palace was completed in 1873, and on the 24th of May, Alexandra Palace and Park was opened. Sims Reeves sang on the opening day before an audience of 102,000 people. Only 16 days later, the palace was destroyed by fire, killing 3 members of staff, and only the outer walls survived. With typical Victorian vigour, the palace was quickly rebuilt and reopened in May 1875. It contains a concert hall, art galleries, museum, a lecture hall, a library, banqueting room and a theatre. An open-air swimming pool was constructed at the base of the hill in the surrounding park. The pool is now long closed and little trace remains except for some reeds. The grounds included a racecourse with grandstand, Japanese village, switchback ride, boating lake and 9-hole golf course. The Willis organ, installed in 1875 and vandalised in 1918, restored and reopened in 1929. It's still working, but its restoration is continuing. In its 1929 restored form, Father Willis's masterpiece was declared to be the finest concert organ in Europe by Marcel Dupree. In 1935, the trustees leased part of the palace to the BBC, which used it as a production and transmission centre for their new BBC television service. The antenna was designed by Charles Samuel Franklin of the Marconi Company. The world's first public broadcasts of high-definition television were made from this site in 1936. The palace continued as the BBC's main TV transmitting centre for London until 1956. Interrupted only by World War II, when the transmitter found an alternative use jamming German bombers' navigation systems. In 1944, a German doodle bug exploded just outside the organ end of the Great Hall and blew in the rose window, leaving the organ exposed to the weather. In 1980, the trustees decided to refurbish the building, but a couple of days after the Great British Beer Festival and during the Capital Radio's Jazz Festival, a second disastrous fire started under the organ and quickly spread. It destroyed half the building. Again, the outer wall survived and the eastern parts, including the theatre and the BBC TV studios and aerial mast, were saved. Some of the damage to the palace was repaired immediately, but Haringey Council overspent on the restoration, managing to create a £30 million deficit. It was then reopened to the public in 1988 under a new management team headed by Louis Bizet. Later, the council was severely criticised for this overspending in a report by Project Management International. This was followed by a decision of the Attorney General in 1991 that the overspending by the council as trustees was unlawful and so could not be charged to the charity. The council for some years did not accept this politically embarrassing finding, and instead maintained that the charity owed the council £30 million, charged compound interest on what it termed a debt, which eventually rose to the claim of some £60 million, and to recoup it tried to offer the whole palace for sale, a policy their successors are still trying to carry out despite being stalled in the High Court in 2007. As of June 2008, it is still unclear whether the council in either of its guises has agreed to write off their overspending.